Hello everybody, my name is Benjamin Bloom, nearly home, but I have to stop and do a bit about Derby County because news has broken in the past hour on The Guardian that Derby County have sacked, terminated the contract of captain Richard Keogh. Now, we all know about the story. You can check back on the channel elsewhere. We did a lot about it at the time. Keogh involved in a very unseemly, boozy night out that ended with him badly injured, unconscious in fact, in a car that was being driven by a drink driver. He really bust his knee up very, very badly, out for the season, and we then heard possibly even longer than that. His contract due to expire in June 2020 at the end of this season, and Derby gave him an ultimatum to take a pay cut and renegotiate, or they were going to terminate, and Richard Keogh has been sacked. Now, this is a really, really interesting story because it opens up lots and lots of cans of worms about footballers, about their behaviour, and about clubs' attitude towards footballers and their status as commodities, investments, etc. Obviously, Derby have spent a lot of years without parachute money under Mel Morris trying to get back to the Premier League. So they run their club in such a way that tries to eke everything out of it. We all know about the reselling of the stadium and the what that did to the books and bought them a little bit more time in the face of probable large losses. So the story went that Keogh was involved in the boozy night out. Off he went with Tom Lawrence and Mason Bennett in the car. The car crashed. They fled, they came back. Keogh still there apparently. We know all of that. Keogh came out of it worse, as I say, completely bust up his knee, and was going to be out until after the end of the duration of his contract. Lawrence and Bennett were luckier, not injured in any way, shape or form, and Bennett came back to the bench quite quickly. Lawrence came back into the team and has scored since, and now has been reintegrated back into the team. Keogh, a different matter. We saw him, I believe, at Pride Park in a recent game. He was pictured on crutches there in his Derby tracksuit, but all is obviously not well. Now, I am fascinated in what people think about this, because the first accusation is going to be against Derby that Keogh has been made an example of because he's the least valuable financial asset, i.e. you're not going to sack Tom Lawrence, who's an attacking player, who's much, much younger, who had 6 or 7 million quid invested in him and probably has a long contract tied up. But Richard Keogh is 33, his contract is running down, he's a centre half, he has very little in terms of real resale value. So the first question I would ask anybody watching, and I really don't know the answers to any of this, so I'm fascinated, get down and involved in the comments on this one, is are they making an important stand, or have they picked on the person who they can deal with easiest, who they're not tied to financially the most? That would be my first thing. The second thing I would say is this an important moment in football, in the respect of people say, oh, footballers, oh, they don't have respect for this, that or the other. They get away with anything because they're celebrities, because they are expensive commodities. Is this the reverse of what I've just said? And is this an actual important moment in that a footballer has actually got sacked for presumably it'll be gross misconduct? I'm sure there's something in all footballers' contracts that say if we're paying you 24 grand a week and you get drunk and hurt yourself and we can't use you for a year, we can terminate your contract. Is this an important moment? And would this have happened if Keogh had been, for an example, well, we just used the Tom Lawrence example, a younger attacking player with with much more upside and resale value. I'm really interested to know which side of the coin people fall on. Either Derby have half made a statement and gotten rid of the person who's least financially viable, or no, round of applause to Derby. They've not tolerated gross misconduct. Drink driving is a very, very serious offence. Footballers, whether they like it or not, are in the public eye, and role models looked up to by children, young adults, young guys who have driving licences and cars, and that this is unacceptable, and it is a good statement. What we do know is this is going to get nasty now. Keogh presumably will go legal on Derby and try and say this is unfair dismissal. We'll see what his lawyers say where rich people and big companies are concerned. And a 24 grand a week contract, a bit of quick maths would say 10 grand a week, £500,000, $1 million. We're talking about probably £1.25 million this is worth to Richard Keogh. So it's possibly worth spending a bit of his own money trying to fight it. It's unseemly. Keogh had been there. Whatever you say about a player, any player who's been turned out for a club over 300 times, club captain on the pitch, he's the one that's been there through all of the promotion failed challenges, and better players have been sold on. He's the one that's always been there. So in some ways it's sad to see a captain who's made, if Wikipedia's right, I just quickly checked, it's 315 appearances. So my view, for what it's worth, is that it's sad for Keogh to go out that way. That's for certain. I don't know whether he'll pop up again in the Championship at a lower level, or whether he'll retire gracefully if he can. It'd be a really sad way to go out. I think he probably could play for a while longer. It depends what toll the injury takes on him, but we'll find that out next season. I think two things can be true. I think Derby have every right to run financially as prudently as they can and say, well, we think this is disgusting, the behaviour of all three of the guys, Bennett, Lawrence and Keogh, but why should we as an organisation lose a load of money due to somebody else's negligence? If they sack Tom Lawrence, someone else will just sign him on a free, and Tom Lawrence will probably get a pay rise. So, you know, there you go. I also think that they have made some kind of statement, however fudged it is. I'm really conflicted on this. So I think there could be some truth. I don't think this is black or white, and it's going to fall somewhere in the middle. I would love to hear from football fans, from Derby fans, particularly your views on this, how you would have handled it, how you feel Derby have handled it, what the right thing or wrong thing was to do. Is it a thumbs up for what Derby have done? A thumbs in the middle, a thumbs down? Really conflicted. It's a really contentious one, isn't it? Especially where drink driving is concerned. So, look, no notes on this. It's just what I know. I've ad-libbed this one, and I'm most interested in what people are going to say down below here in the comments. But certainly, unprecedented story. The initial story was incredible enough, but now the club captain of Derby, Richard Keogh, fired. Again, I'll reiterate, I'm not the wise authority on this. I'm not a lawyer. I haven't read the contract, and I'm quite conflicted. So I am appealing to people who've watched this video to get down in the comments there. Let me know what you think, and hopefully we can get a sensible, reasoned debate, if that's possible. On YouTube, follow me on Twitter at Benjamin Bloom. Subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications. I won't plug my Patreon on a video about someone being fired. Doesn't quite seem right, but please, I will say, get involved in the comments. Thank you for watching. Over and out. Richard Keogh sacked.